She didn't just cheat on you, she made you doubt your own reality. You felt it long before you could explain it, that tight pull in your gut when she smiled at her phone, then quickly flipped it over, that awkward silence when you asked about her day, and she replied with just one word: fine. You felt the distance, the cold, the shift, but instead of confronting it, you told yourself it was nothing. You gave her the benefit of the doubt, because that's what good men do. You didn't want to seem paranoid. You didn't want to be the jealous boyfriend. So you blamed your own instincts. You became the villain in your own story while she quietly rewrote the script behind your back. That's the most dangerous kind of betrayal. Not the loud, dramatic one. Not the shouting matches or slammed doors, but the slow, invisible kind that makes you question your reality. She didn't just lie to you. She trained you to lie to yourself, to silence your inner voice, to ignore what your body was screaming while your heart was trying to keep the peace. That's how it begins. Not with infidelity, but with self-doubt. That's how she gains control of the narrative. You no longer ask questions. You no longer trust what you see. You rationalize every red flag because you're more afraid of losing her than you are of losing yourself. Let me ask you something. When was the last time she looked at you like she used to? When was the last time you laughed together without her checking her phone? When did her presence stop feeling like home and start feeling like a hotel lobby, temporary, transactional, distant? You noticed, didn't you? Deep down, you noticed. But instead of acting, you convinced yourself you were overthinking. You hoped things would just go back to how they used to be. But let me tell you something most men learn too late. Women don't just leave, they disconnect piece by piece. Emotionally, mentally, physically. Until one day, they're already gone, and all that's left is the echo of a woman who once loved you. She didn't just cheat on you with another man. She made you cheat on your own intuition. That's the part that really cuts. That's why you keep replaying the signs in your head. Because they were always there. You saw them, you just didn't want to believe them. You wanted to believe in her more than you believed in yourself. And that's where it all starts to fall apart. But here's the truth. A woman who cheats always leaves signs. Subtle ones, silent ones, but they're always there. You just have to be willing to see them for what they are, not what you wish they were. In the next part of this video, we'll break down exactly what those signs look like so you'll never doubt yourself again. When a woman goes silent, she's saying everything you refuse to hear. At first, it's barely noticeable. She just starts replying with shorter sentences. She used to tell you everything, even the boring parts of her day, and you loved that. Now her words feel like they've been edited down, stripped of color and life. You ask her how her day was, and she says fine. You ask what she wants to eat, and she says whatever. You ask if something's wrong, and she says I'm just tired. But it's not just exhaustion, it's disconnection. Silence is not absence, it's a statement. And when a woman goes quiet, it's often because she doesn't feel safe expressing herself anymore, or worse, she no longer sees the point. She stops sharing because she's already started letting go. You might think things are just calm, but beneath that calm is a storm she's no longer inviting you into. She's processing things alone, and when a woman starts processing things without you, she's building a world where you're no longer needed. This kind of silence isn't peaceful, it's heavy. You feel it when you're sitting next to her, and it feels like you're miles apart. It creeps into the room during dinner. It sits between you and bed. It turns simple conversations into landmines. And yet, because she's not yelling, because she's not fighting. You tell yourself things are fine. But silence can be louder than any argument. Silence says, I've stopped trying. Silence says, this version of us doesn't deserve my energy anymore. Here's what most men get wrong. They wait for a fight. They think as long as she's not angry, things are still salvageable. But by the time she's quiet, she's already past the anger phase. She's past wanting you to change. She's past hoping. Her silence isn't the beginning of a problem, it's the result of one that's been growing for months. Ask yourself, when did she stop telling you the little things? When did she stop laughing at your jokes? When did you stop being her safe place? These changes don't happen overnight. They happen gradually, while you're distracted, while you're busy convincing yourself everything is okay. Then one day, you wake up next to a stranger who used to be the love of your life, and you wonder how you got here. But the truth is, you knew. You just didn't listen to the silence, because it's easier to hear words than to read between them. But if you want to truly understand her, you have to start paying attention to what she's no longer saying. And when that silence takes hold, it's not just about what she's hiding. It's about what she's already lost. In the next part, you'll see exactly what happens when her appearance changes, but not for you. She's getting prettier, but you're no longer the reason why. At first, you think it's a good thing. She's wearing makeup more often. Her hair's done even on the days she's not going anywhere special. She starts hitting the gym, buying new clothes, changing her perfume. You tell yourself, maybe she just wants to feel better about herself. Maybe she's just leveling up, and you're happy she's taking care of herself. But then you notice the details. She puts on her best dress to run errands. Her phone is always on silent when she's getting ready. She takes longer in the mirror, checking angles, taking photos, but not with you, not for you. And deep down, something starts to feel off, because you remember the times when she used to dress up and ask, how do I look? Now she doesn't ask. She just walks out the door. You see, when a woman is in love, she naturally wants to look good for her man. It's not forced. It's part of the connection. But when she starts enhancing her appearance while becoming emotionally colder toward you, that's not self-love, it's redirection. She's investing effort, but not in the relationship. She's drawing attention, but not yours. This shift is subtle, but it speaks volumes. She wants to be seen, just not by you. And what hurts more is how invisible you begin to feel. You compliment her and she shrugs it off. Another man compliments her and suddenly her eyes light up. That sparkle, that energy, you remember it, but it's not for you anymore. Here's the truth most men ignore. When her physical appearance starts changing rapidly while her emotional availability drops, you're no longer the focus. You've been replaced in the mirror, not by another man directly, but by the version of herself she's preparing for someone else. It's a transformation, but it's not one you're part of. And it doesn't mean she's cheating, not yet, but it does mean her attention has shifted. Her energy has moved away from you, and attention is the first form of loyalty. Once it's gone, everything else soon follows. And what follows next? When physical closeness turns into emotional distance, when her body is there, but her connection is gone, that's where we're headed now. Physical closeness has become just a performance. You still sleep beside her, but it doesn't feel like closeness anymore. Her body is there. Her warmth is there. But the connection, that invisible thread that once pulled you together, is gone. You reach for her, and she doesn't lean in. She doesn't pull away either. She just allows it, like it's something she's supposed to do, not something she wants to do. The kisses feel hollow. The touch is routine. The intimacy becomes a duty, not a desire. You notice she turns her face slightly when you kiss her. Her hands don't hold you the same way. The little sighs, the playful tension, the spark, they've all faded. What used to be a sacred language between you two has turned into scripted lines from a play neither of you wants to perform. This is where most men start to panic. They think it's about performance. That maybe they're not exciting enough, not strong enough, not doing enough. So they try harder. They buy gifts, they plan dates, they double down on affection. But it doesn't work. Because the problem isn't physical, it's emotional. She's already checked out. True intimacy isn't about touch, it's about trust. It's about presence. When a woman is connected to you, even the smallest moment, her brushing her fingers across your chest or whispering something in your ear, feels electric. But when that emotional bridge collapses, even the most intense physical moments feel empty. And the truth is, she knows it too. She can feel the difference. That's why she avoids eye contact in those moments. That's why she ends things quickly. That's why she changes the subject afterward or rolls over without a word. She's not just pulling her body away from yours, she's pulling her spirit, her affection, her loyalty. But here's the part that hits hardest. She may not even realize she's doing it, because for her, the disconnection didn't start last night. It started months ago, in quiet moments you didn't notice, in unspoken feelings she buried, thinking they'd go away. But now they've become distance, and that distance is growing. If you're feeling that your touch no longer reaches her, that your presence no longer stirs her heart, you're not imagining it. It's real. And it's only the beginning. Because after physical withdrawal comes the excuse, the subtle disappearance, and the carefully crafted stories meant to keep you in the dark. The more logical her excuses sound, the more you should worry. It always starts small. A late meeting at work, a girls' night out that runs a little too long, a sudden trip to help a friend who's going through something personal. The reasons seem valid, they make sense, and that's exactly why they work. Because the most dangerous lies aren't the outrageous ones. They're the ones that sound perfectly reasonable. When a woman begins to pull away and hide things, she doesn't do it with chaos. She does it with structure, with strategy. Every absence is wrapped in just enough detail to keep you from asking more. Every excuse is delivered calmly, with just the right amount of frustration in her voice to make you feel guilty for even questioning it. She might say she's working late, and when you ask what she's working on, she gives you a vague answer that somehow feels specific. It's just that Q4 client pitch, or my boss dropped something on us last minute. You don't press further because you don't want to seem controlling, and she knows that. She counts on it. There's a shift in her patterns. She used to tell you everything without being asked. Now you have to ask, and even then, the answers come delayed, filtered, minimal. The timeline doesn't always add up, but when you question it, she spins it so you feel like you're being unfair. You start wondering if you're the one causing problems. That's not carelessness. That's calculated. You'll notice her phone becomes more private. She starts using passwords, clearing notifications, turning the screen away. When she used to leave her phone face up, now it's always face down. When she used to invite you to her plans, now you're hearing about them after the fact. Oh, I thought I told you. It was just a quick dinner with an old coworker. That's the power of a well-built excuse. It turns your suspicion into shame, It makes you doubt your gut instead of questioning her story. And over time, the excuses become routine. They start to layer on top of each other, forming a pattern of perfectly timed disappearances. She's always just busy enough, just stressed enough, just tired enough to avoid accountability. This isn't about controlling her schedule. It's about recognizing that the emotional transparency is gone. Her life has become compartmentalized. You're no longer part of her world. You're watching it from the outside, while she carefully curates what you're allowed to see. And if you're feeling more like a spectator than a partner, it's because you're no longer in the story. You're just being kept comfortable enough not to leave. But here's the twist: while her words become more structured, her joy becomes harder to hide. And if you pay attention, you'll start to see her happiness showing up in places that no longer involve you. Her smile still shines, but it's no longer reflected in you. She still smiles, she still laughs, but not with you. Not because of you. And that's what cuts the deepest. Her joy hasn't disappeared, it's just moved somewhere else. And if you're honest with yourself, you've already noticed it. She lights up when a message pops up on her phone. She laughs harder during conversations you're not part of. You catch her humming in the kitchen, looking at something on her screen, then quickly locking it when you walk in. You want to believe she's just in a good mood. You want to believe that smile still belongs to you. But you know it doesn't. There was a time when you were her reason to glow, when your presence brought her peace, and your words made her laugh. You could say anything, and she'd respond with a look that said, "I see you." That look is gone now. Her happiness is no longer shared. It's hidden. It's personal. And in a relationship, when happiness becomes private, so does everything else. You might try to recreate that closeness. You plan a surprise, take her out, say something funny just to see her react. But her smile doesn't come as easily. Or worse, it feels forced. You feel like you're chasing a version of her that already left. This isn't about her being cheerful. It's about where that cheer comes from. If the things that excite her no longer involve you, if her happiest moments now live on her own time, in her own space, away from you, that's not independence. That's detachment. People don't fake happiness, but they do redirect it. And when that redirection becomes consistent, it means something fundamental has shifted. You haven't lost her completely yet, but you've lost her enthusiasm for you. And when a woman stops being emotionally invested in your shared joy, she's already rehearsing life without you. You're not crazy for noticing. You're not insecure for feeling replaced. You're observant. You're awake. And what you're seeing is real. Now ask yourself this: if her laughter belongs to someone else, how long before the rest of her follows? Because when joy exits the relationship, what usually follows is distance, and that distance soon becomes silence you can't break. You're still in the relationship, but she's already somewhere else. You're sitting next to her, but it feels like there's a wall between you. Not a physical one, but something colder, something deeper. You talk, and she nods, but her eyes don't meet yours. You joke, and she smiles politely, like a stranger being courteous, not a woman in love. You're sharing the same space, maybe even the same bed, but emotionally, you're in different worlds. This is the moment most men never see coming. Because everything looks normal from the outside. You're still doing the routines, the errands, the dinners, the shared Netflix shows. But something vital is missing. Presence, connection. That invisible bond that once made you feel like a team has quietly disappeared. You ask how she's doing, and she says, "I'm fine." but her tone is distant, mechanical. You try to hold her, but her body feels stiff, not resistant, just absent. Like she's there out of habit, not desire. Like the relationship has become a room she walks through, not a home she feels safe in. You start to feel alone even while she's right beside you. That's the part no one tells you about. That you can be physically close to someone and still feel emotionally abandoned. It's not about fighting or screaming. It's about fading. About the slow erosion of intimacy, one silent evening at a time. She no longer asks about your day. She no longer shares hers. You both scroll your phones in silence, side by side, like two co-workers killing time. The conversations grow shorter, the moments grow colder, and you begin to wonder, are we still together or just coexisting? This is what it feels like to become a guest in your own relationship. You knock on emotional doors that used to be wide open. Now they barely crack, and when they do, all you hear is, "I'm just tired," or "I've got a lot on my mind." But deep down, you know it's not just stress, it's not just routine, it's emotional distance. She's already halfway out the door emotionally, mentally, while still holding the appearance of commitment. And unless something changes, that distance will become permanent, not because of one dramatic moment, but because of 1,000 quiet ones where love was replaced with apathy. So the question is, how long can you live like this, knowing the person lying next to you already left without saying goodbye? The most painful betrayal is the one that comes from a friend. It's one thing to be betrayed by someone you love. It's another to be betrayed by someone you trusted with your life. The double impact doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your sense of reality. Because you didn't just lose your partner. You lost your friend, and suddenly, you're standing in the wreckage of two relationships that once defined who you were. He was your closest friend, the guy you shared everything with, the one you defended in arguments, showed up for when life got hard, invited into your home, your circle, your world. You trusted him with your secrets, your laughter, your loyalty, and she was your partner, your person, the woman you thought you'd build a life with. You introduced them, never once thinking you'd regret it. But behind casual conversations and harmless smiles, something else was growing. Something you couldn't see because you were too close to it. While you were focused on work, on responsibilities, on being the stable one, they were building something in the shadows. Maybe it started small. A few messages, inside jokes, late-night talks that didn't include you. But it evolved, quietly, strategically. And you didn't suspect it because betrayal never announces itself. It tiptoes through the spaces you're not looking at. It waits until you're comfortable, until you believe nothing could possibly go wrong. Then one day, it happens. You see a message, or you catch a look between them that shouldn't be there. Or maybe she confesses, not out of guilt, but because it's too late to hide. And suddenly, your world flips. Everything you thought was safe collapses, and you don't just feel pain, you feel stupid. You start replaying every moment in your head, every time you left them alone. Every time he said she was like a sister, every time she said he was just a friend. And it's not just heartbreak, it's humiliation. Because now you're not just grieving the loss of love, you're grieving the loss of trust. You can't even tell who hurt you more. The woman who shared your bed, or the man who swore he had your back. This is the betrayal that cuts deeper than most men admit, because it makes you question everything about yourself. Was I not enough? Did I miss the signs? Was I too naive, too trusting, too blind? But here's the truth. You weren't weak. You were loyal, You weren't blind. You were focused on building, not doubting. You didn't lose because you trusted too much. They lost because they had no integrity. Still, the damage is done. The trust is gone. The wound is open, and the hardest part is knowing that the two people who were supposed to protect your heart were the ones who shattered it together. From here, things change. You start to see the signs you once ignored. You start to understand what distance, silence, and emotional withdrawal really meant. And you realize something crucial the moment she started emotionally drifting. He was already stepping in to catch her. Now the question becomes, how do you recover from a betrayal that came from both sides? The answer starts with seeing the end long before it becomes obvious. Because the next phase in her detachment is the quietest and the most dangerous. She left long before she ever walked away. By the time she tells you it's over, it's not a decision, it's a confirmation. The truth is, she left weeks ago, maybe even months. Not physically, but emotionally, mentally. Her mind checked out long before her body followed. And if you look back, you'll see the signs were always there. You just didn't realize you were already living in the aftermath. This is what most men don't understand. Women rarely walk away on impulse. They disconnect in stages, quietly, internally. First, they stop sharing their thoughts. Then they stop sharing their feelings. Eventually, they stop imagining a future with you. And when that happens, she starts grieving the relationship while you're still trying to fix it. You may think she's being cold, distant, unreachable. You try harder. You plan something special. You become more present. But nothing you do seems to get through. That's because you're showing up to a room she's no longer in. You're fighting for a connection that's already been severed on her side. What hurts the most is how calm she seems when it ends. No screaming, no dramatic exit, just a quiet conversation and a final goodbye. You're shocked, you're broken, but to her, this isn't sudden. She already played this out in her head. She already cried. She already mourned what you had. And now she's just letting go of something she already lost inside. It feels unfair, because you didn't get the chance to fight. But she didn't want to fight. She wanted clarity, peace. And when she didn't find it with you, she found it by preparing for life without you. That's the essence of psychological departure. It happens behind the scenes, slowly, silently, until the physical departure is just a formality. So if she seems emotionally gone, it's because she is. If she no longer reacts, no longer engages, no longer lights up when she sees you, it's not stress, it's not mood swings. It's a woman who's already moved on in her mind. And when a woman reaches that point, no amount of convincing can bring her back. Not because she's stubborn, but because she's exhausted. Emotionally drained from the effort of trying to stay connected to someone who didn't notice her slipping away. You didn't lose her the day she left. You lost her the day she gave up and you didn't even see it. You're not crazy, your intuition was right the whole time. There's a difference between being paranoid and being perceptive. Between obsessively checking her every move and simply paying attention to what your gut is telling you. Too many men confuse the two. They either ignore the obvious or spiral into suspicion so deep they lose themselves. But the truth lies in the middle between blind trust and constant fear. Your intuition exists for a reason. It's the quiet signal your body sends when something doesn't feel right. And most of the time, it's not just fear, it's pattern recognition. You notice the changes and the shift in her tone. The small details that don't line up. You can't always explain it, but you feel it. That's not insecurity, that's awareness. But here's where things go wrong. Instead of trusting that awareness, you either suppress it or let it consume you, and you either tell yourself you're overthinking or you become obsessed, turning into someone who checks her phone, tracks her location, analyzes every word. And in that process, you lose the very thing you're trying to protect: your peace. The goal is not to catch her in a lie. The goal is to stay grounded in truth. And to do that, you have to observe without becoming obsessive. You have to listen more closely, not just to what she says, but how she says it. You have to feel the energy in the room when you're together. Is there warmth, or is it gone? Are you still being chosen, or are you just being tolerated? Ask yourself, has her routine changed drastically? Does she avoid emotional conversations? Is her phone more guarded than usual? Do your interactions feel more like obligations than choices? You're not crazy for noticing these things. You're crazy if you pretend they don't matter. But here's the key: don't confront out of fear. Don't accuse out of anger. Watch calmly. Gather clarity, not evidence. Pay attention to consistency. One-off moment isn't betrayal, but a pattern of secrecy, distance, and contradiction that's not just a bad day. That's a message. Your intuition should guide you, not control you. Let it be a compass, not a cage. Because the moment you start chasing proof, you step into paranoia. And when you act from fear, you create the very dysfunction you're trying to avoid. So be still, be clear. Don't become the man who needs control to feel safe. Be the man who trusts himself enough to see the truth when it's right in front of him. Because deep down, you already know. You've always known. You just needed permission to believe yourself again. And now that you do, the next step isn't about watching her. It's about choosing how you respond. Do you stay and confront, or do you walk away before the damage becomes permanent? Face it or let it go, knowing when it's time to speak or leave. There comes a moment in every breaking relationship where silence is no longer an option. You've seen the signs, you've felt the distance, you've trusted your gut. Now the question becomes, do you confront her, or do you walk away without saying a word? The answer isn't about pride, it's about clarity. If you still believe there's something left, something worth saving, then speak. But speak with purpose, not desperation. You're not begging for love. You're inviting honesty. You're giving her a chance to be real with you one last time. When you confront, do it calmly. Don't raise your voice. Don't throw accusations. Say what you've seen, what you felt, and what you need to know. Real strength doesn't shout. It speaks with certainty. And let her respond. Watch her face, not just her words. Listen to her tone, not just her story. If she owns it, you'll know. If she deflects, denies, blames, or flips it on you, you'll know that too. Either way, you're no longer in the dark. You've put the truth on the table. That's not weakness, that's dignity. But if everything inside you already knows the truth and you're only staying because you fear the fallout, then maybe the real power is in walking away. Quietly. Completely. Without asking for validation or closure. Not because you don't care, but because you've realized you care more about your peace than chasing loyalty in someone who already let go. The timing is personal. But the rule is this: if her presence feels like absence, if her words no longer match her actions, if you're the only one fighting, then it's already over. And staying doesn't make you strong. Letting go with grace does. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until the pain becomes unbearable. Decide. Speak if there's a chance. Leave if there's not. But whatever you do it with your head high, your voice steady, and your heart clear. Because at the end of it all, your worth isn't defined by how long you stayed, it's defined by how well you respected yourself when it mattered most. Letting go isn't weakness. It's the ultimate self-respect. There's a moment when you stop asking why she changed. You stop replaying the conversations, the lies, the excuses. You stop trying to fix what was never truly yours to control. And instead, you look in the mirror and realize this isn't about her anymore. This is about you. Because walking away from someone who betrayed you is not weakness. It's self-respect. It's choosing yourself in a world that kept asking you to shrink, to settle, to sacrifice your peace just to keep someone else comfortable. She made her choices. And maybe she had her reasons. But the pain you feel isn't just from her actions. It's from the time you spent ignoring yourself. The days you saw the signs and stayed anyway. The nights you convinced yourself that love was supposed to hurt this much. It's not. Real love doesn't confuse you. It doesn't make you chase it, question your worth, or beg to be seen. Real love is steady. It's honest. It's mutual. And when it's no longer those things, it's not love, it's attachment. It's habit. It's fear. So this is where you stop. Not because you hate her, not because you want revenge, but because you love yourself too much to keep bleeding for someone who won't even admit they cut you. You're not walking away because you gave up. You're walking away because you finally understand. You can't heal in the same environment that broke you. You can't grow beside someone who kept shrinking your value. And you can't find peace in a relationship that only gave you pieces of the truth. Yes, it hurts, but healing always does. Letting go isn't about erasing the past, it's about refusing to let it control your future. It's about taking everything you've learned, the red flags, the silence, the distance, the lies, and using them to build stronger boundaries, sharper intuition, and deeper self-trust. Because the man you're becoming, he's no longer begging to be chosen. He's choosing himself. He's no longer asking for closure. He's creating his own. He's no longer waiting to be loved right. He's becoming someone who refuses to be loved wrong. So take that step, quietly, powerfully. Not to prove a point, but to protect your peace. Not to punish her, but to preserve your purpose. This isn't her story anymore. It's yours. And how you end it says more about your strength than anything she ever did. You didn't lose her. You found yourself. And that's the most honest, powerful, liberating thing a man can do.